Alright, here to do UFC 104 predictions day before the fights, so, probably a lot of people won't see this, but still. Here we go. In the sidebar, you will find the undercard predictions I made listed, and here we go to the undercard that is being shown on Spike TV for free. First up, we have Anthony Hardog versus Pat Barry, kickboxer versus kickboxer. Anthony Hardog got the reach advantage. I think Barry's got the power advantage. I think Hardog, and probably the speed advantage. I think Hardog's a little more technical, but he doesn't make use of his punches that well. We've seen in the past he's had some problems with getting strikers, like Czech Congo pretty much killed him. Eddie Sanchez made him look kind of bad by, being able to hang in there for a while. That being said, Pat Barry apparently doesn't train with a mouthpiece, and he got knocked out by Tim Hague. Well, not knocked out, but knocked down by Tim Hague, and it seemed like he had a problem with Tim Hague's power. So, though I was originally going with Pat Barry, I thought about it again. I'm going to go with Anthony Hardog, TKO in the second round. I think Hardog's also got the better ground game of the two, although Barry, I think, may have the better wrestling. Then we have Ryan Bader versus Eric Schaefer. This was a tough fight to call for me because Bader, I think, has the better striking. He's obviously got the better wrestling. That being said, I look at Bader. I don't think his striking is that great. I think Schaefer has fought some guys who have better striking and hung in there long enough to even just pull guard, which I think he could do. It's Bader. Bader's counter grappling ability hasn't really impressed me. You look at his fights on the show. He fought Tom Lawler. He fought Elliot Marshall, who's a black belt. But at the same time, Conor Gregorian managed to not get submitted by Elliot, and I thought was a lot more effective offensively. I thought Elliot just didn't attack nearly enough in his fight with Bader. Of course, his fight with Vinicius Matthegas. Knocked him out very quickly, and of course his fight with recently Carmelo Marrero. Well, not so recently. He looked like he didn't really know what to do on the ground at times. He's just like that. Carmelo was as inept. Joe Rogan tried to make a big deal about how good Bader looked in the fight. I didn't think he did. I'm gonna go with the gamble and go with Schaefer with a second round tap out. I think he gets a hold of something, probably a choke, and puts Bader away. But a unanimous decision or TKO for Bader in no way would surprise me in that fight. Anthony Johnson versus Yusuke Yoshida, which is the first one we should see on the pay-per-view portion of the card. Anthony Johnson, of course, wins over the likes of Kevin Burns, Luigi Fioravanti, a couple other people that are kind of eluding me at this moment. He's a very good striker. Oh, he beat Thomas Spear too. Very good striker, very good wrestler. Obviously, the plan is to probably sprawl and brawl Yoshida, because Yoshida is very deadly on the ground. Good submissions. Showed that against Copenhagen. Of course, recently got knocked out by Koscheck. But he's a very dangerous fighter on the ground. His stand-up is actually not bad, but it's not at the level of Johnson's. Quite simply, Johnson is faster, more powerful, more technical, I think. And if he can keep this standing, he can get the knockout. I think that's how it's going to go, because with his wrestling base, it's going to be hard for Yoshida, who's dealing with a considerable reach disadvantage, to get into the clinch and judo toss him to the ground. Additionally, Johnson hasn't shown himself to be, deficient on the ground, really. It's just not terribly his strength. Now, he's got to get away from this thing he does sometimes where he takes you down and just kind of stays in your guard. As soon as Yoshida, that's a bad idea. Yoshida will try to get something. Whether he'll get it or not is a tough call. But he'll try to get something. He may get it. And if he does, you could be going to sleep, or you could be tapping, or you could be, referee could be stopping it. And you want to avoid that. But I'm going with Anthony Johnson. I'm going to say it goes to the second round. If Koscheck can knock you out, I'm pretty sure Anthony Johnson can. Johnson's a much better striker than Koscheck. I don't know about power per se, but I think he probably has more power. He apparently comes down from about 220, not on straight cut. He diets down and then cuts. This tells me that as Johnson gets older, he's probably eventually going to have to move up to middleweight. This is just because a lot of people have been commenting on this. He'll probably have to move up to middleweight, because that's a fair amount. That's kind of like me fighting at welterweight to review my weight, which is about 225. I'd be going down to welterweight, and I'm a lot, you know, softer and fatter than Anthony Johnson is. It'd be a much easier cut. I can't imagine it's easy for Johnson to make that, being as cut as he is. But, you know, we got a couple of years, I think, before that really becomes an issue. Joe Stevenson versus Spencer Fisher. Joe Stevenson recently shown that he's going back to his roots as the grappler, which is good, because if he can, because he should be able to take Spencer Fisher down almost at will. Spencer Fisher's takedown defense has always seemed suspect. Generally, when you try to take him down, you just do it, and it doesn't matter if you have a great wrestling base or not. You seem to be able to do it, except for Jeremy Stevens, kind of failed to take him down. Fisher, though, very heavy hands. He's very skilled on the ground. I don't really see him getting tapped by Joe Stevenson. I don't think we've seen. I don't think I've ever seen Fisher get tapped. It might have happened. Don't quote me on that. But he's a very skilled grappler. That being said, Stevenson very skilled grappler. Outside of the Kenny Florian fight and the BJ Penn fight, he's generally been the man in charge on the ground. This fight I don't see being really any different. I see Stevenson taking him down and going to a unanimous decision. Now if Fisher or if Stevenson decides he's a boxer again and boxes with Fisher, it's going to be a painful night for him. That's all there is to it. Fisher is a much better striker than Joe Stevenson. Has a considerable reach advantage. That's all there is to it. Gleason Tebow versus Josh Neer. Not really sure why this is on the main card. Both are coming off losses to, respectively, Melvin Gillard and Kurt Pellegrino in fights where their opponents didn't really earn much, in my view. Pellegrino just basically taking Neer down. Didn't really exercise what I thought was a BJJ advantage. Of course, Tebow, personally, I thought got robbed in the Melvin Gillard fight. So that's that. Tebow's going to probably try to take down Josh Neer. The problem is he tends to gas out a little bit. Neer's got good cardio. Neer's a way better striker, more knockout power, better technique, faster striker. If he can keep this standing, I think he can win this fight. And I'm going to pick him by TKO. I'm going to kind of gamble that he learned his lessons from Pellegrino, which is do not assume the guy's going to stand with you when he's mainly a grappler. Play the sprawl and brawl game versus the all-out brawler game. And hopefully he goes for the TKO. If Tebow wins this, it will be by unanimous decision or some kind of decision, because he will not finish Neer in any way, in my opinion. It's just really not a finisher. He's not aggressive on the ground. He doesn't really ground and pound or go for submissions. Neer's a tough guy to ground and pound anyways, and he's also a tough guy to submit. Next we have Cain Velasquez, Ben Rothwell. I'm going back and forth in this fight a couple times. I keep thinking the Czech Congo fight with Cain Velasquez, where he was saved by the fact that Czech's wrestling is very suspect. Ben's is not suspect. That's the thing. He's a harder guy to take down. He's a big guy, comes from the Milicic camp, has a decent wrestling background. He's not a better wrestler than Cain by any means. I mean, there are very few guys I think are better wrestlers than Cain. I don't think there really is a pedigree better, although interesting matchups with a guy like Lesnar or Carwin just because of the size and strength disadvantage he would be facing. He's a fast guy, he's got good stand-up, but that chin has me worried, and it makes it hard for me to pick Cain. I'm going to pick Ben Rothwell, and if Cain wins this one, I'll be probably pretty happy, because I think Cain is the guy that I think if he wins, it's better for the heavyweight division, because he's an exciting fighter, and he's a guy who creates a lot of interesting matchups with other people, whereas I don't really feel the same way about Ben Rothwell. He's a good fighter, like to see him in the UFC, finally. Is very good, but he's just not the guy that I want to really see up high in the heavyweight division, because I look at the matchups he could have and I'm not really liking them, whereas I like Cain's matchups, but at the same time I think Ben probably, with that suspect chin, second round, TKO or KO, so stoppage by strikes. Lyoto Dragon Machida versus Shogun. People are taking Lyoto for granted in this fight, and I don't think that's right. I think he's going to win. I'm going to go with a fourth round stoppage, probably by strikes. I don't think it'll be a sub, because I don't think Shogun's cardio is there yet. I don't really think Shogun's the type of fighter to beat Lyoto, because I think he is suspect to counter-striking. This whole idea that he's really suspect to it, that he comes in wide open in a Vanderlei Silva almost way, that's not right, but at the same time he does leave himself open to the counter punch. And I think that's going to hurt him. Lyoto's incredibly elusive. it's hard to think who would really be the guy I'd pick to beat him. But at the same time, everyone's got a weakness. You just gotta find it. And I think people gotta stop thinking any of the champions are unstoppable, basically, because they'll be beat at some point. It's pretty inevitable. The only guy that's really had this kind of long run is Fedor, and that's it. Anyway, so Lyoto, 4th round TKO. I could see this going to a decision just because Shogun's a very tough guy, but at the same time, I think he finishes it. Anyways, that's predictions. Enjoy.